All right, guys, we are live here at Shield Canine HQ. We are just going to make sure that everything is working, that the audio is good, and that everybody can hear and see. And then we are going to go and get started with this fantastic work that we are about to do. And so, let me just make sure that the chat, let me pop the chat up just for the replay. So I know, pop out chat. There we go. And we will put the chat right there. Oop, that's too big. Okay. All right, guys. Let me know if everything's good to go. And we'll get started. I already see some of you in the chat. And we will get after it. You are all here. And while you guys are letting me know if everything is good, I'm going to light this fatty up. Ooh, perfect. You're bringing your German Shepherd here. Fantastic. German Shepherds are awesome. In case you guys didn't know, I like them. So guys, let's get started. Now, as you know, the title of this live is being authentic. And I thought I would do a live on this. Obviously, as per usual, we'll talk about dogs and dog training. Whatever organically comes up, we will follow it. That being said, I want to talk a little bit about being organic. Or authentic, so to speak. On social media in this day and age, right, there is a high level of pressure to give people what they want and to act in a way that you think people would want, especially the bigger your following is, because the potential from a, let's say, from a monetary perspective, from a social pressure perspective of not doing so, the potential downside of not doing so is extremely, let's say, severe, right? We all have heard of the term being canceled and all of that type of stuff. And I must admit, when I first started, I guess, kind of getting a following on social media as a dog trainer, I started to think, you know what, maybe I'm a little bit too much, what's the word? I'm not really generally appealing. I'm not appealing to everybody. I'm not, being something that everybody would want, so to speak. Like my personality, the way I communicated, the things I talked about on YouTube and on Instagram, so on and so forth. And for a while there, I tried to be a little bit more just generally appealing. And I can tell you this, guys, I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy it. There's something so freeing about being authentically who you are. And I didn't enjoy it, and I said, you know what? If the cost of being authentic to yourself, of being authentically who you are, is going to be a monetary cost, if it's going to be a cost in terms of followers and following and people that, want to engage with your social media, I said, so be it. I'm willing to pay that cost. Because there's nothing more enjoyable than just being who you are and sharing that with people. I mean, think about what it is to be friends with somebody, what it is to spend time with somebody and enjoy it. The only way that you're going to enjoy it is if you're able to be authentically who you are and you're able to, share that person with your, with the person that you're spending time with, or the people that you're spending time with. That's what makes it so fun, that looseness that you have with each other, the ability to joke back and forth, to share a sense of humor, to tease each other, to engage in real discussions when real discussions are necessary. And I think that a lot of social media influencers, especially in certain spaces, and dogs is one of them, perhaps they feel the pressure to not do that because they don't want to risk offending people. And I'm not one of those people. I'm a believer, whether we're talking about dog training, whether we're talking about life or anything else, that the way that I would speak to you in public, the way that I would speak to you if we were hanging out, the way that I would speak to a friend if we were hanging out, is the way that I should speak to you guys when I'm talking to you online. And I think that being authentic, whether, somebody already brought up my book, in the written word, which is my book, in the video content that I share with you guys, in my online courses, I want to be as authentic as possible because I think that that's the best way that you find community, right? So a lot of people are like, oh, why did you say this? Or why did you post that? Because these people are going to feel excluded, so on and so forth. And my rebuttal to that would be, if they feel excluded based on a post, right? Assuming that I didn't say, I hate this type of person or that type of person, right? But if they feel like if they feel excluded, if they feel offended based on, a post of mine, or a joke that I make on social media, or a comment that I make on social media, then are they really people that I want to associate with? Are they really people that will understand the way that I communicate and the training that I do and the value that I bring? Because obviously some people perceive that what I bring to the equation to be valuable, a significant number of people, if we're being honest, right? But I think that the ability to take that information in and to actually action it, to use it in the real world, it's a certain type of individual. It's the type of individual that isn't easily offended. It's the type of individual that does have a sense of humor. It's the type of individual that can parse statements and, not overreact to them. And I think those are my people. Those are the people that I'm trying to reach. And I think if you're an easily offended individual, or if you're somebody that, you don't like straight talk, and I know there's a lot of people like that, especially in this day and age. You don't like straight talk. I'm not for you. I'm not for you on a dog training front. I'm not for you on a social media front, on any kind of front. I am not your guy. You need to go find the guy that's going to sugarcoat everything and tell you what you want to hear, regardless of what he might say between him and his friends in real life. And I've met these people. They'll say something that they would never say on the internet. They'll say it to you in real life. They will never say it on the internet. They'll make a joke that they would never make on the internet to you in real life, right? And to me, that's inauthentic. I'm not saying that they have to do it on the internet. I'm just saying, for me, I want to be 100% who I am on the internet, so that if you ever meet me in real life, there's no surprises. If anything, you're pleasantly surprised, right? Because you're like, oh, wow, I thought you'd be like way more than what you are. You're actually a little bit more. Now, obviously, look, the internet doesn't leave a lot of room for nuance, especially when we're talking about short form content, right? So for instance, I'll give you guys an example. I make a reel saying, oh, you'll see a lot of trainers just put a ball in their armpit and heal their dog and make that out to be real training, and it's not real world training. And of course, a lot of people got upset. They said, oh, that's not true. We do that all the time. You do that sometimes in your training. As part of the training process, you'll put the ball in your armpit and blah, 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 blah. And I say, yes, I will. But the context is very, that's not the be all and end all. I'm not doing this for short form content that I'm going to post in a reel. This is a small step in the training process that I'm following to get to the point where you don't need to have the ball there, right? And this is not something that would be applicable to the average pet dog. So you see, I attached variable context and nuance to something that I said. And now all of a sudden it changes it a little bit. But on the internet, you don't have time for that, especially in short form content. You post images, you post a reel, and you can only say so much and do so much there. The context is, when someone meets you in real life, or if they watch your long form content, then I can give all the context that I want to something so that people can understand the exceptions to the rule, or, you know, the qualifications to the thing that I'm saying, so on and so forth. So I guess what I'm saying is I really, I've thought about it, and I've had people question me on it, but I really like to be authentic, because it makes me the happiest. It makes me the happiest. I'm truly happy being authentic, and I truly believe that I will find my people, the people that, you know, are most likely to jive with my training, that are most likely to get the most out of my training. It's not that I have any doubt that, you know, my training will work. It's that I think the people that are most suited to actually get results out of that training are the type of people that I spoke about. And I want everybody that trains with me to get those results. You see some, Mr. Rob says the book is definitely fire. A lot of people, of course. Thank you all for the support. Do you have any advice for doing a first dog training session with a client? Also, do you think doing it at a hardware store would be a good place to start? No, I do not. I have a trainer's course where I go over all the details for how I will train someone to, you know, train their dog, right? So like my trainer's course, I go over all of this stuff. You know, that's the other thing. I really like my trainer's course. The more I see other courses, the more I like my trainer's course, right? A lot of other courses, they kind of seem a little bit culty. It's kind of weird, you know, it's almost like, oh no, like dog training Jesus, whoever it happens to be for whatever, you know, specific trainer you want to pick is coming out, and his followers just worship everything he says and does. And, you know, it's like, they don't really have like a breadth of experience, right? And they don't have really kind of maybe the most realistic view. It almost seems like the trainer's course is more to be an acolyte of that person than to actually go and run and I'm not speaking about anybody individually. I want to be clear about that. This is a broad and general statement that I'm making. It's more about being an acolyte of that person or of that system than it is about running a professional and successful dog training business, right? And I've met people of multiple systems, and they don't really know how to fundamentally train a dog. They know how to parrot some of the things that, you know, whoever they follow, you know, some of the things he says and does. But like, do they really know how to functionally train a dog? I would say most of them don't. Do they really know how to functionally train, like fix behavioral problems, you know, quickly and effectively the way that your average client wants? I don't think they do, you know, for the most part. I'm sure there's exceptions to that, but for the most part. So I really like our just as I speak to you guys, just as I'm very much to the point, cut the bullshit, cut the fluff, cut the BS out of dog training. Let's get right to the point. Let's get right to the results. What is the most direct route between us and the dog in terms of communication? What is the most direct route in terms of getting rid of this problem, or in terms of building this behavior? My dog training, the way that I communicate to you guys is the same way that I communicate with the dog. Right? I want that clarity where the dog's never like, I wonder what he wants, or I wonder what he doesn't want. The dog should never be confused. Just as when we are speaking, you should never be confused about what I want or what I think or what I believe, right? So I don't like to hide anything, and I don't like there to be any secrets between me and you or me and the dog. Let's see. The book is awesome. I'm currently training my dog's recall with an e-collar using. That's from Ellie Pope. Let's see here. How can I make my dog increase speed during the performance? Well, there are two things that influence the speed of a dog. Again, you know what? We're going to talk about something else here. I made the mistake of going on Reddit once. I'm going to talk about that. I made the mistake of going on Reddit once. So I was reading, you know, some people reviewing, you know, it's surreal. I don't know how many of you have experienced this. When you read about yourself, Like, how many of you guys have actually like read about yourself? It's weird. You know what I mean? It's like, you, you know the things that you've done and said and whatever else, but it's interesting to read like how other people perceive you or feel about you. It can be quite shocking in the beginning if you're not used to it. Because you can read a lot of positivity and you can read a lot of negativity. I'm becoming a desensitized to both of them, so it's probably a good thing because you don't want to go too high or too low. But we're all human beings, and whatever anybody says, it does affect you one way or the other. But all that being said, I was reading some stuff on Reddit, right, about my courses. Somebody was like, oh, you know, like his loose leash walking course is basically just him walking around popping a dog on a prong for 30 minutes. I was like, word? That's what you got out of that? Really? Why do you think if I was popping a dog for 30 minutes on a prong, like what am I accomplishing with that? No, I was going through all the nuances, all the detailed nuances of loose leash walking, the behavioral impact it has, the mistakes a lot of people make when they're training the dog. I even used, by the way, a reactive, like a dog that had high arousal and reactivity in my loose leash walking training. That's why I could talk about for 30 minutes about loose leash walking, the behavioral impact it has on a dog, why it's so important to teach it, why it's become a fundamental part of my program, and it has very little to do with the you know, just the handler, it being convenient for the handler that the dog doesn't pull on the leash. Loose leash walking has enormous behavioral impact on the dog. And it's so important to do, especially with dogs that are reactive, especially with dogs that are easily distracted. Loose leash walking is the foundation for functional obedience. And I go over all the nuances of that in the videos that I put in just the loose leash walking course. But that person watched the course and we're just like, yeah, he's just propping the dog on a prong collar for 30 minutes. You know what I mean? And it's like, it just makes you realize, it's like some people, that's the person that wants short 5-minute videos, 2 to 5 minute videos shot in 4K, right? Where everything looks easy. I'm using a pre-trained dog and there's very little context given. Just do this and watch the magic happen, right? Instead of, hey guys, do we have a bad dog in the kennel that like pulls a lot and is like really out of control? Oh yeah, Haz, we have this Dalmatian. He's like a jerk. He's bad with other dogs. He's not easy at all. Oh, he just got in. Oh, perfect. Give me that dog. That's the dog I'm going to teach the loose leash walking course with, right? That's authentic. That's me giving you guys like the straight goods instead of me pulling a dog that's already been in training for, you know, a few days, a week, whatever, and then showing it with that dog where everything's going to look easy. No, I want to pick the hardest dog so I can show you guys all the things that could go wrong. That's real training, right? So this is what I'm talking about. And then I realize it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. Some people don't want the context. They want to be basically entertained, whether it's through education or anything else. For me, education is education. It's not supposed to be entertaining. It's supposed to be informational. You're supposed to watch it and literally learn as much as you can about that specific topic. And yes, loose leash walking is a complex topic where there's a lot of nuances to it. Just like anything, it looks easy. It is easy, but there's variables that you need to consider when you're doing it with a dog. And if you don't understand all those variables and contingencies and so on and so forth, you're probably going to screw something up. I always talk for too long and then my cigar goes out. All right, guys. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, guys, let's get the likes up. Let's get the likes up. Why do high drive working line level dogs react back to their handler and bite during reactivity? You mean why do they redirect when they're in a high state of arousal? Because they're frustrated. In some cases, it's a learned behavior. In some cases, it's a genetic predisposition that they have. How do you fix it? You teach the dog that he must never do it. You correct the behavior. You punish the behavior. And I certainly do. to the point where so what you have to understand about unconscious behavior. So redirection, typically it's not like the dog didn't think his way through that. The dog's just reacting. I'm on a leash. I can't get where I want to go. I can't bite what I want to bite. So I'm going to bite the next best thing, which is either the leash or the person holding the leash. See that all the time, especially in the Belgian Malinois, so on and so forth. And the more they do it, the more they're likely to engage in that behavior. So the dog isn't really thinking about it. The dog's just doing it, okay? And you'll see the same thing, by the way, with reactive dogs. Some of them pick up this habit of redirecting on the leash or the handler. Anyways, to make a long story short, the only thing that overrides unconscious behavior in a dog, right? The only thing that actually puts a block on that behavior is generally positive punishment, right? You can screw around with thresholds all you want and keeping the dog under a threshold, but the second they get really spooled up, right? There's two ways to think about it. There's like, oh, like he just can't handle his thresholds, and we'll just slowly increase the threshold, his sensitivity to the threshold, and we'll just work him slowly and until he builds this skill of being able to not become over aroused and bite the handler. Of course, none of it works, which is why the positive only trainers give up their dogs that truly do redirect. And by the way, I know of a very famous positive only trainer that people recommend all the time who gave up her dog. It was just like a little floofy Mally that she gave up because she couldn't handle the redirection. It's like so easy to fix, right? Anyways, all you got to do, real simple. The dog redirects, positively punish the behavior, right? Positively punish the behavior, reset, restart again. Rinse and repeat until the dog learns that, hey, and they learn generally very, very quickly. Like I'm talking like a few repetitions. The dog's like, oh yeah, we don't do that. You'll see the dog go to do it and then actually in their mind be like, oh yeah, we don't do that anymore. And then redirect all that arousal where it's supposed to be, which is down the leash, right? And I fixed that with extreme drive dogs, extreme drive shepherds, extreme drive Mallies. It's a process. It's a tried and true process. It works. Am I going to tell you exactly what to do on the internet? No, because it's complex and it's very easy that you'll screw it up or take it out of context. Another person loving the book. Awesome. Would I be able to show Swamp's puppies in this stream? No, I would not. This is a desktop stream. How can I... Okay, let's see. How can I teach a trained, no aggressive... barking at other dogs from far away, but not when close? What? You want your dog to bark at other dogs? I don't know. Go ahead. You got to figure that one out on your own. I've already gone over Dogtra versus e-collar tech. I'm not going to do it again. Jason says, hey, Haz, off topic. That Shield Canine hater figurine was one of the funniest things I've seen in a while. I laughed to myself just thinking about it. Yeah, and that's one of those things where it's like, you got to have a sense of humor if you want to be, if you want to enjoy my content, if you want to follow it, right? I know that there are some people that maybe are similar to some of the qualities that figurine had, or have some of the traits expressed in that figurine, in that doll that I put up. That actually like my content, that follow my training system, that do all the things, that we do here at Shield Canine and are believers in our system and what we do. But I know also that the vast majority of people, and I'm saying the vast majority of people that really don't like what I do, really they pretty much match that doll beyond a shadow of a doubt. So because there's a number of people that follow my system and that appreciate my content that maybe have some of the qualities that doll had, right? Does that mean then I shouldn't post it because I wouldn't say that in private, or I wouldn't say that if I was like talking to my friends or the people that I hang out with? Of course not. I would say that. I joke about that with my friends all the time. That, oh, this is that type of person obviously always hates my content. Anytime you'll see someone generally posting something negative or hateful about my content, that's basically who they are. So That's not going to stop. It's a truism, right? It's something that is true. We're not just going to ignore it because it might offend a small group of people. I think the people that truly jive with my content appreciate the humor in that. They're like, yeah, I might have some similar qualities to what that doll had, but I can also understand that the vast majority of people that hate on Haz and his training method and his content really look a lot like what this doll looks like and have a lot of the same qualities. And I'm going to laugh at it. I'm also going to laugh at myself. Right? The ability to laugh at yourself, that is big. And I find that too many people in this day and age, they're not able to laugh at themselves. If someone made a doll that was good, like of me, and it had like some of the true things, like I would probably repost it, right? It would be funny. I would laugh at it. Like as long as it had like, you know, the just enough truth to be funny, right? It would be good. Like I would repost that shit. It would be funny for me because I can laugh at myself. I don't take myself too seriously. Right? I'm secure in who I am. I know my strengths. I know my failings. Right? I understand that I have failings. I don't think I'm God's gift to, you know, to people on this earth. Right? And I'm secure in that. So there are people that are insecure and they're not able to laugh at themselves. And if they even see something, if you make fun of something that even remotely resembles them in any capacity, they'll just have a meltdown. Hey man, I'm not for you. My training isn't for you. Our system isn't for you. It's not. You don't have the mental makeup, the mental, I'm not going to say capacity because everybody has the mental capacity. You don't have the mental makeup to be able to implement and action this training philosophy in such a way that it works for your dogs. I'll give you guys an example, right? So like for instance, I had a dog. I had several people that I know of when I posted that dog. They have dogs that we've actually helped, right? Like we actually fixed the problem. They went multiple other places, didn't work. They came to us, we resolved their issue. They sent us dogs, we resolved their issue. Across a number of locations actually, right? Across, not just me, like I'm talking like multiple trainers, whatever else, right? And we literally saved the dog's life. And they're mad about the dog. So there's like, I will never recommend clients come here anymore. I will never, you know, talk about your training anymore, so on and so forth. And I'm like, word? So I guess you don't really care about your dog. I guess you don't really care about the dogs and the dog training, right? We literally saved your dog's life. We literally saved that dog's life, right? You went other places. They couldn't help you. You came here. We helped you. You would rather say, screw that dog and screw any of the other dogs that we know these people can help because we know their system actually works and that they actually know what they're doing, that they could save these dogs' lives. They could help these people. Screw all of that. My feelings are hurt. Is that a good person? Is that a moral person? Anybody that knows me knows, right? Number one, I don't care who you are. If you come here, if you're polite and if you're kind, I'm going to be polite and kind to you, right? I treat people the way that they treat me, especially in real life, okay? The internet is the internet, you know, and even similarly, if you write something like, hey, Az, you know, I don't really like this, but, you know, I love your training, blah, blah, blah. Hey, no problem. I love you, appreciate you. You know, sorry you're upset. But, you know, I'm still going to have my sense of humor. I'm going to say what I'm going to say. But all that being said, are you really a good person if you're going to say, screw the dog, screw the dog's life, because I'm pissed off that that guy says something or posted something that I didn't like, even though I know him, his trainers, and his training system are the best thing for these dogs? Do they really care about the dogs then, or is it just about them? Because anybody that knows me in person knows too that there are people that I don't like in the dog world, and I'll be like, hey, I don't like that guy, but he's really good at this. I've said it multiple times, right? No need to name names right now, but I don't like that guy. Like I think he's an ass, but he's really good at X, Y, or Z, right? Because that's being honest. Patrick Gravel says, will the book make me and my dog become as good or as close to those who did the certificate, the trainer certificate course? Probably not. It's a book. You're comparing it to a $4,000 course, right? Is there a lot of value for 20 bucks? Hell yeah. Are you going to be able to train your dog off leash? You know, the level, of course, depends on you and your ability to understand, comprehend what's in the book and implement it in real life. Yeah. Is it going to be the same as a $4,000 trainer's course? Hell no, of course not. Again, this thing is out. Does my book explain? No, my course is my reactive course talks about how to fix redirection, but I don't share that in the book because again, it's one of those things. Actually, I think I do talk about redirection in the book. I'm lying. I do talk about redirection in the book. You know, again, it's a book, so it's kind of you have to be very careful what you write because there's a lot of nuances to everything. I will be coming to you for that issue with my Polish European working line Doberman. Will I be training with you, Haz, or another trainer? Most likely another trainer. I don't really do a lot of private sessions anymore, if ever. But they'll definitely help you. I was bit 2 times in one day. Both dogs fighting. That's not happening anymore. Extreme correction. Yeah, extreme correction for 2 dogs fighting, but also extreme management. Shouldn't be happening, period, right? You know that if you have 2 dogs, like 2 males, especially certain breeds, there are certain things you cannot allow them to do. And you have to, your management has to be on point. Michael Cleary says, hey, Haz, would you recommend a purebred working line German Shepherd or a mixed breed working line German Shepherd? Get a purebred working line German Shepherd from a good breeder. That's what I would recommend. Logan says, working through the reactivity course now, it's largely fixed it overnight. Working on the off-leash training now. The online program rocks. Fantastic, man. That's what I want to hear. RFS says, I found your contact because of your Ovcharka. I have a 15-week-old, 50-pound female Ovcharka that's from Romanian line, where my family lives. Fantastic. And that's the thing, you know? Like, I want to be able to take I want you to be able to take your Ovcharka off leash. Oh, people were telling me when I took Kevin off leash, oh, you can't do that. He's an Ovcharka. He's going to kill somebody. No, he's not. He's not going to kill somebody because me and him have very direct and clear communication, right? He also loves me. Why does he love me? Why did Kevin freaking love me? And I loved him, I got to be honest. He was so cute, right? He loved me because I was direct with him. And dogs love directness. They love it when you are direct, when you don't bullshit with them, when you're straight up. You do this, you don't do that. You do this, daddy loves you. You do that, daddy's going to be upset, right? And in a meaningful way for him. What does daddy loves you, you know, these are all euphemisms. What does daddy loves you mean to the dog, right? It means I'm going to tell him nice things. I'm going to praise him. I'm going to tangibly reward him, right? I'm going to give him things that he likes from me. That is how I'm going to express my love and appreciation for his behavior. If he does the wrong thing, I'm going to do things like, and I'm not talking about like the wrong thing, like he makes the mistake, like a small obedience mistake. I'm talking about like he goes after somebody. Those of you that have taken my, I think it was my Patreon, I posted a video once where Kevin, when I was training him, that was the Ovcharka, he decided to rip off on somebody. Like I had him on the leash and a client walked by on the gravel pathway and he decided to light up on that guy. And I punished him very, very quickly for that behavior. And I didn't use any like tools to do it, right? And he shut up right away and he stopped that behavior right away. And then from that moment onwards, I don't think he ever really did it again with me, right? Because I was so clear. Don't do that. I hate that behavior. You don't do that around me, right? Clarity. He loved the clarity, just as every dog loves clarity. They're not capable of lying. Bison Jackson said the positive trainers that hated me due to my balanced way started complimenting me yesterday. My reactive dog can be around dogs theirs can't. Yeah, well, you know, if you're an honest individual, you should be able to say, hey, that person did something I can't do. I would like to learn how to do that so I can do what they can do. Shannon, you gotta stop giving me these $99 super chats. Not because I don't appreciate it, but because you don't need to do that. That's not necessary. I appreciate it, but really it's not necessary. Please don't do that again. I feel uncomfortable. I feel uncomfortable when you give me, especially because you're already in my courses, right? Like I don't want you to give me any more of these super chats. Like I really appreciate it, but just like you don't need to do that. It's too much, right? What is the main reason I avoid using the e-collar for reactivity? This is the other thing. Yes, thank you for bringing that up. E-collar for reactivity. E-collars for reactivity. I don't do it. I posted a video not too long ago of a dog being reactive. This was a German Shepherd that was brought to me. Actually, somebody that was taking my online courses. Maybe he's watching this. I don't know. Anyways, his dog was super reactive. My camera guy happened to be there at the moment he showed up. His dog was super reactive. I had a dog in an outdoor pen, and her dog was his dog was extremely reactive, female German Shepherd, freaking out. He would try to correct the dog would redirect on him, right? She wouldn't stop. You can see it a little bit in the video, right? Then I put a few moments later, and then you see the dog, it was really probably about 20 minutes later. You could see the dog loose in the room, like on the leash in the room, surrounded by multiple other dogs. I put, I literally we'll fix reactivity fast. And people got upset. Well, why is this dog now in a different situation? So you're trying to tell me that it is easier for this dog to be in close proximity to other dogs, random dogs that are, moving quickly around, playing, like I was playing tug with one of the dogs, barking. The dog was barking at me, right? This crazy reactive dog, it's easier for her to be doing this than to be dealing with a dog that's behind the fence. Are you dumb, right? And then I say, okay, these people actually, they don't want results. They're just looking for something to complain about. I'm showing them tangible results. I'm saying it's fast. They can't be fast. You're not telling the truth. Oh, you must have just shocked the shit out of the dog. Oh, okay. You think fixing reactivity is just lighting the dog up on an e-collar? Good luck. You think you're the first idiot to think of that? Go ahead, do it. See what happens. See what happens. Especially if you have an e-collar trained dog, which most of them don't. Generally doesn't end well. There's no longevity in that, right? Because it's not clear for the dog. And the dog tends to make a lot of suspicious associations. Generally speaking, I'm not a fan of using pain to punish dogs for reactivity, right? Or aggression. Generally doesn't work. Turns out the pain usually creates more of that behavior. Okay, let's see what you. How does police canine know who to bite if they're released and other police are nearby? Well, in many cases they don't. Number two, how do they know who to bite? Well, a lot of it's training scenarios. Setting the dog up so that the dog learns what a backup officer looks like and what a suspect looks like. What a backup officer acts like and what a suspect acts like. Right? And then also the handler being smart in how they handle the dog and cutting the dog loose at the right time, right? Especially different dogs, they have different quirks. You got to know the dog that you're dealing with and have a deployment plan for that dog that makes sense. John says, what are the pros and cons of training tracking with a ball? Pros, drive, a lot of drive, right? Drive will push a dog through Stress, drive will create more longevity in a behavior. Drive will increase the intensity of a behavior. Cons, the dog's going to be really fast. And sometimes, well, not sometimes, fast dogs tend to make more mistakes on a track. Stalwin says, this cigar is not burning well. Hi, Tara here, gold member from Queensland, Australia. Love your videos. Slowly going through your videos, so much content. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy it. And again, with my online courses, shieldcanineonline.com, I try to give as much context as possible because I understand you guys all have different places that you're starting from. You guys have different dogs. So I'm trying to cover as many bases as possible when I teach something, even something as simple as loose leash walking. How to tell the difference structurally between a working line German Shepherd and a European show dog? Well, the European show dogs tend to be a lot more narrow. They tend to be more tall and lanky. They tend to be black and orange. And working line dogs tend to be more compact and well built. How much is my reactivity course? Go online and find out. Go online and find out. I don't remember off the top of my head, and if you can't afford it, by all means, get my book. I talk about reactivity in my book as well. Of course, seeing is a lot better than reading, but there's something for everybody, right? Let's see here. What is your experience with male dogs when, if neutered? I've heard so many things. They get better, worse. Isn't the training? Yes, all my dogs are intact. I don't believe I have a neutered dog right now. No, I don't. The only thing that can change is obviously, things like marking, things that are like behaviors that are sexual in nature or that have a sexual root. Right? So like things like marking, things like being really interested in a female that's in heat, that's pretty much the only thing that'll change. Again, I don't have problems with my dogs marking in the house or anything like that. It's not a problem for me because, again, I'm very clear with my training. I always think there are times when I have suggested neutering a dog because I think for that specific dog and for the behaviors that dog expresses, it might help, and the dog has already reached a full growth. So there's no reason not to neuter the dog because it couldn't hurt, but it's rare that I do. Very, very rare that I do. For the most part, I think that this strong desire, and you tend to see it again in the positive training community, to inhibit a dog, to remove body parts from a dog because it's going to be more easy, which is not the case, right? It's going to be easier to handle that dog. I think it just shows the failure in the training ability of these individuals. Because it's like, why do you need to cut a part off of this dog? Why do you need to remove hormones from this dog for your training to work? Maybe your training isn't that clear, right? Maybe your training isn't that clear that you can't say to this dog that has maybe some natural urges, which in my opinion, generally intact dogs, they're not really all that different from dogs that aren't intact. I think people tend to think of dogs like the way they would think about a bull or a stallion. It's not the same. It's not the same at all, right? Like that testosterone doesn't impact them the same way. So I'm here to tell you that it's probably not going to make a difference for you or for your dog. But it's interesting that type of person, they always want to cut the dog. They want to diminish the dog. They can't deal with the dog as nature intended him to be. No, let's cut a part off of him. Let's make him less than what he is because it might make him a little bit easier for us to deal with because the way that we train isn't actually clear for him, and it doesn't actually inhibit undesirable behavior or reinforce desired behavior. I don't need to diminish the dog. I don't like diminishing the dog. I like the dog as God intended for him to be, and I like working with that. I don't like giving them medication. I don't like cutting them. I like working with the dog as he's meant to be, and I'm not afraid of that dog, right? A lot of the times they're intimidated. They're afraid of that dog, and that's why they can never help those they can never help the dogs properly. Shannon says, I'm totally confident, not an insecure person trying to please. I just appreciate your training in comparison to idiot trainers. Well, thank you, Shannon. I appreciate that. Daniel says, thanks. Am I able to perform pro trainer requirements with my 2 Mastiffs as a first-time owner? Does that mean there is hope for me as a trainer? Yeah, absolutely. I think there is. Why wouldn't there be? Would I ever own a Mally again? I might. Am I taking questions? Yes, I am. Let's see here. Lorraine says, love these online chats. Thanks, Haz and Haz's friends. I am working through the book right now, owner of a female Malinois. Awesome, Lorraine. Happy to hear it. Possessiveness in a working puppy. Pros and cons. And why? Well, why? Because they're bred that way, right? A good working puppy wants to chase objects, wants to bite objects, and then wants to retain those objects. Why? Well, I mean, if you really understand what working dogs do and what they're bred to do, whether it's competition dog sport, whether it's real applications like tracking, police work, you're going to need drive. Drive is what motivates the dog to hunt for drugs for hours every day. Drive is what motivates a dog to hunt for a suspect in extreme heat and through difficult terrain. Drive is what motivates a dog to overcome pain and adversity and apprehend somebody, fight a man if necessary, who's trying to attack the owner or break into a property. You need that. If you can't handle that, don't get a working breed. I have a Belgian Malinois. He has reactivity, resource guarding, and fear of people. Would your online course help with this? Absolutely. Take the reactive rehab bundle. It will definitely help with this. I have a female spayed border collie who marks. Is that normal? If not normal, how do I stop this behavior? Oh, sorry. It's Virus sent me a super chat. Let me answer him. Question. Using a slip lead for reactivity behavior, not pain? Thanks for the knowledge. No, it's not. No, it's not. It doesn't work. A slip lead is not pain compliance, right? A slip lead, when used properly, is actually air compliance, right? Do I use it really for reactivity? Generally, no. I actually don't really use... I mean, it's good to stop a dog who's being reactive, but it's not actually how I fix reactivity. I don't really use a slip lead to fix reactivity. You can stop a dog in that moment from being reactive or aggressive with a slip lead, but it's not really how you fix the problem. Are you going to make more podcast episodes? Yeah, probably will. It's something that I left just because I don't really have anybody I wanted to talk to. And it's not something where it's like, oh, it's my job to do a podcast every week. I'm not a podcaster, right? I'll have a podcast, but I'm not a podcaster. So I'll get to it again. Again, I have to have people that I want to talk to. I wanted to ask your opinion on vaccinations in dogs. My dogs are vaccinated. I'll give you guys some straight knowledge when it comes to vaccinations. So, as with humans, I think there are vaccinations that are necessary and vaccinations that are unnecessary with dogs. Okay? So, I'm going to talk about puppies. All right? I believe in the parvo vaccine. I believe the puppies should be vaccinated. Why? Because years ago, I had a nasty case of parvo brought in by, let's say, an outside dog or outside puppy that came to my facility from somewhere that wasn't very clean. I found this out later. And I had 2 litters at the time on the ground. One of the litters had just been vaccinated for parvo. The other litter had not been vaccinated because they were too young. Of the younger litter, I lost like 3 puppies. The rest pulled through. The puppies that had been vaccinated for parvo all pulled through and were fine. So, having had that very real exposure to a terrible virus that afflicted 2 of my litters, one which was vaccinated, one which wasn't, yeah, I'm pro-vaccine for puppies. Now, that being said, I've also had a dog that was basically killed by a vaccine. I had a Chihuahua. He was approximately 10 years old. We were traveling to the United States. He had not had a rabies vaccine in quite a while. It'd been like 4 or 5 years since he had a rabies vaccine because I just was never traveling with him. I didn't need it. We were going to the U.S., so I decided to vaccinate him so that we could cross the border without any issues. He was a happy-go-lucky dog. I loved him. He was probably my favorite dog that I've ever owned in my life. In terms of like companionship. Like we used to hang out on the couch. I gave this dog, this is the only dog in my life I ever really kissed, right? I kissed him every day. Kissed him right on his cute little head every day. We hung out on the couch every day. He was just a cuddle bug. He was the cutest little freaking dog you could imagine. And he was fantastic. I loved him. His name was Rambo. Anyways, you might even see videos of him if you go years and years back on my YouTube channel. Anyways, Rambo was a happy-go-lucky dog. He was old, but he was running around. He was fit. He was healthy. Took him in to get a rabies vaccine so we could cross the border. Within 6 hours of getting that rabies vaccine, Rambo was stumbling around. Like he couldn't, like it was like he was like dizzy, right? Like he was literally doing this with his head. And he was stumbling, like he was walking like somebody that's dizzy, you know, like stumbling, falling over. Of course, rushed him back to the vet. Hey, like, you know, like something's wrong. Like the vet's like, oh, you know, he's old. These things happen, but what? I'm like, bro, I literally have video of this dog the day before running and playing with another dog. It's not, oh, he's old. Something's freaking off here. Ended up taking him to the University of Guelph. Like 2 weeks of intensive care, really heavy-duty drugs. Long story short, like he had like a inflammation, like a neurological inflammation in his brain. You know, like they had to bring the swelling down. He was never quite right after that. His appetite went down like 50%. And if we didn't keep him medicated, he would get really bad really quickly. He died a year later. I believe that vaccine killed him multiple years before he would have normally passed. The other Chihuahua that I had with him at the time, I still have her now. She was younger than him, but not that much younger. She's like 16, 17 years old. I still have her now, right? Miserable bitch. Not at all like him, right? He was, I always say the good die young, but he was killed by that rabies vaccine, right? Now recently, I was going to the U.S. and guess who I was bringing? That little 16-year-old Chihuahua. And I went to my vet and I was like, man, like, I don't know what I want to do. I want to get across the border. My vet said, hey, man, don't worry. I'm going to hook you up. I don't give this rabies vaccine to dogs over 10 years of age. Good vet. Good vet. Right? So, as with everything, there is nuances to vaccines. There are good vaccines, there are necessary vaccines, and there are vaccines that you probably don't need. And there are risks associated with vaccines. Let's see what else we got here. Charlene, thank you for the super chat. $6.99, fantastic. Was on a beach in southern UK today. My German Shepherds and another Leonberger were best behaved. Lots of dogs there. The big dogs still get blamed when little ones harass them. They absolutely do. Am I going to try for Worlds again or just Nationals? I'm trying for Worlds, baby. We're going all in. What dog breed would I never own? Probably a hairless dog. No. Don't like them hairless. They should be fluffy. Jack English says, thank you for everything. I'm currently working on getting my first German Shepherd for IGP. Also, just took my first bite in a suit yesterday. Your work has helped me get everything going. God bless. Well, thank you. Zen, the trudging text has preached, man. It's a dog, not a couch ornament. Cutting its balls off isn't going to change that. Absolutely. Zen Collins says, I'm a trainer here in Idaho. A lot of people here go to snake avoidance training where they use aversive levels around snakes on an e-collar. Do these classes counter normal e-collar use? Not if they're done properly. Not if they're done properly. Patrick Boswell says, I asked about working versus show structure because my black German Shepherd is from an unknown breeder. Bringing him to your protection team tomorrow for an evaluation. I guess we'll see what he's made of. Absolutely. We will see. Charlene says, do you find males work less well on the frustration side than German Shepherds in general? Malinois have thinner thresholds and they're more sensitive to things, so that tends to make them overreact. So yes, generally German Shepherds have thicker thresholds, tend to use their brain just a little bit more than the Mallies do. Jack Berry says, my dog is only reactive while walking around its home neighborhood. If I take her anywhere else, like a pet expo with a room full of dogs, she will not be reactive. What am I doing wrong? Well, you're not recognizing the scenario, right? Like, when you take a dog and they're in an area where there's like 100 dogs all around them, they're just so overwhelmed. There's so much stimulation, right, that the dog really can't react to anything. You know, those of us that keep fish, we know this, right? So like if you have like like more aggressive fish, like let's say African cichlids, you never keep like just a few of them, because then they'll all pick on one and like kill it, right? But if you put like 30 fish in the same tank, there's just too many of them for anybody to be targeted, and the aggression is dispersed so much that you don't really have any aggression. So is the same with these types of dogs, right? There's just so much stimulation that they can't really pick something to be reactive to because it's just too much, right? Now, when you're on your own by yourself walking down the street, there's nothing around, then all of a sudden a dog appears. It's much easier for the dog to target that dog and become aroused and go through the whole reactivity cycle with that dog. So definitely work on that and punish the dog for that inappropriate behavior, and then promote the appropriate behavior with that dog. You know, I made a post not too long ago on social media, a couple days ago, where I said, I can fix any dog, like you bring me any reactive dog, I'll fix it in one session. Again, of course, people got upset. How could you say that? Blah, 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 blah. I can say that because it's true. If a dog walks through the door and I'm training it, it won't be reactive when it walks out the door. Now, of course, nuance, right? Context, so on and so forth. That dog goes home with, you know, Jack and Sally, and they don't do any of the things that Has told them to do. Will the dog become reactive again? Of course it will. But I'll stop the behavior right then and there. And the reason I said that, all people, he's just being cocky. No, I'm not being cocky. That's easy. It's easy. It's so easy. That's what I'm trying to get across to people. For me, competition obedience, competing at the world level with my dog, that's the hard shit. This is easy, right? Reactivity is easy. Hey, don't do that. It's so easy. If you're consistent with that, your dog won't do that. It's just that easy. And that's what I was trying to say to people. It's like, hey, this is easy. This is the easy stuff, right? I want to win a world championship. That's hard. That's really, really hard. You know what I mean? They're not the same. I want people to understand that. So the reason I said that is because I want people to have that mindset. My dog is just not, like, he's not allowed to be reactive. He's not. I won't allow it. I won't tolerate that behavior. I'm going to do what Has told me to do, or what Has team told me to do. And I'm going to eradicate this behavior. And from this day onwards, this dog will never practice this behavior around me ever again in any context. If that's your mindset, you will be successful. If your mindset is, I'm going to try this, and I'm going to kind of half-ass it and hope it works, and, it didn't work, I'm going to go try that and half-ass it and hope that works, and, that didn't work, and they're always jumping from tool to tool and method to method, and the dog just gets more and more desensitized to all these things, so it just becomes super strong in the behavior, and then they're like, just nothing worked. No, you didn't work. You didn't do what you were told to do. You half-assed it. You didn't really want the behavior to stop, right? You didn't really buy in. And I want people to buy in. All right. Let's see what else we got. Just started loose leash training as per your book with my rescue. He's doing really well. The methods work. Thank you very much. I'm glad he's doing well. My dog, this is from Rob, my dog nearly died from parvo at 1 year old, vaccinated. Care cost thousands. One was the sister of ours we had took. 3 months before, highly reactive, so had home care, injecting IV fluids, etc. Yeah, it can happen. Who would make a better trainer, Carney or Polyev? Well, you know, what you have to understand about people So number one, Paul Polyev, of course, I'm very confident would make a good dog trainer or somebody that could handle a dog very well because you can see he's fairly grounded. He knows what's up and what's down. He's not living in imagination land. Now, Carney, right? By the way, this is a political question in case people are wondering. A Canadian political question. Carney is a liberal. Polyev is a conservative. They're both running for prime minister. Now, Carney, he might say nice things, but here's the thing. Carney's a savage. Don't get it twisted, right? Carney, you if you know how to read people, and I pride myself on being able to read people fairly well, Carney will do anything for power. He's a savage. He's saying, the only reason he's saying all the things he says right now, it's not because he truly believes them, it's because he believes that's what's going to bring him power, right? So saying nice things to certain types of people, expressing certain social agenda. Carney is only concerned with power. And he's willing to do anything, up to and including, I'm sure, killing a dog if necessary, to get that power. Call me crazy, but if I had to bet, if I brought a dog before Polyev and I brought a dog before Carney, and I said, hey, you got to kill this dog, and if you kill the dog, I'm going to make you prime minister. I know for a fact Carney's offing that puppy. I'll put a lot of money on it. Polyev, he might. I'm not saying he wouldn't, but I'm 99% sure Carney's shooting that dog. Call me crazy, but that's my opinion. Let's see what else we got here. My German Shepherd chases and kills my chickens any chance he gets. Will using an e-collar to shock him when he goes after them work? It might. If that's your only use of the e-collar. Let's say this. You have a dog that's chasing and killing your chickens. You strap an e-collar on him. He goes out there. The second he starts to chase a chicken, you light him up and you give him like a really high level correction. He's never felt that e-collar before. Is it likely to make him stop? Yes. Yes, it is. Could you create a long-lasting aversion to chasing and killing the chickens if you do it properly? And the dog understands that it's not contingent on you being there and it's not contingent on wearing the collar. You could hypothetically do that. Is there such a thing as fragile-minded dogs due to genetics? Yes, there's a thing as sensitive dogs that are hypersensitive to stimulation. And you have to be careful, and you have to desensitize them to stimulation. So they are technically fragile. Do you have to collar condition a dog even if you're just using the e-collar for corrections? What's a correction, Caitlin? Is a correction, never ever do that ever again? Or is a correction, hey, I told you to come, so therefore you should come? Right? A lot of people get things twisted. They say corrections for punishment and they say corrections for negative reinforcement. If you're reinforcing a recall with an e-collar, yeah, you better condition it. If you're just like the person before you who just doesn't want their dog to kill chickens anymore and maybe that's your only goal with the e-collar, then you can certainly just do that. But if you're trying to reinforce training with an e-collar, you better collar condition your dog, yes. A while ago, my vet said my dog is extremely underweight. She is working weight. I don't want a fat dog. It gets like that sometimes. So you're saying I should get 50 German Shepherds to avoid aggression. I think it would work, to be honest with you. I think if there was 50 of them, it would kind of be hard for them to like pick on one. But I'm not gonna tell you to do that. Hempcrete Bear says, question, what did it mean when you had the t-shirt on that looked like an anti-training collar shirt? It was the original dog adoption video years ago. It was a joke. Again, remember I talked about sense of humor. Anybody that knows me knows I love training with the e-collar. I'm a big, strong believer in the use of the e-collar for behavior, for reinforcing training, all of that stuff. So when I wear an anti-e-collar shirt, it's obviously a joke when you know who I am. Do you think human anxiety plays a part in dogs' behavior? Like, do you think they pick up on it and get anxious because you are? Yeah, it certainly can. They certainly can. I mean, dogs smell hormones, right? Caesar Arujo says, what's the difference of managing reactivity, true pressure, versus through implementing obedience during aroused play? Well, I don't manage reactivity. I punish reactivity. I get rid of it, right? I teach the dog you're not allowed to do it. What a lot of people do is they try to distract the dog with play or with obedience. But that's not really addressing the root problem. The root problem is that the dog thinks that it can be reactive towards other dogs. That's the coping mechanism the dog has towards the stimulation of the presence of another dog. I fix that before I do any kind of play or any kind of obedience, right? Anybody that knows how I deal with reactivity in my reactivity protocol, it is not obedience at all. It is not play in the beginning. It is, hey, you can't do this anymore. Then once the dog understands that he or she can't do it, once they've internalized that, then I say, here's what you can do instead. Now we'll do the play. Now we'll do the obedience, so on and so forth. How do you handle dogs who have no bite inhibition due to being taken away from the dam too soon? The same way I handle any dog. I think it's just nonsense, to be honest with you. I don't believe in that. I've seen dogs that were taken away from the dam early because she couldn't look after them. And I've seen dogs that were left with her until 10 weeks, and I don't see any difference. It's just one of those myths that's perpetuated on the internet. Bite inhibition comes down to you, and it also comes down to the individual dog. You get a bunch of Malleys that were left with the dam up until 10 weeks. Believe me, they're going to bite you if they're high-drive dogs. You know? They're not going to be like, oh, the mother didn't train them for me. No, they're going to bite you. They might have bite inhibition with her because she said, listen, you little sons of bitches, if you bite me, I'm going to bite you. And they're like, okay, mama, don't want any part of that. But you didn't do that. So guess what he's going to do? He's going to bite you because he likes to bite. Right? So no, I'm going to treat that dog the same way I'll treat any other dog. If I don't want them biting me, I'm not going to let them bite me. Some trainers try to make reactivity difficult so they can keep cashing in on sessions with their clients. That, and I think, quite frankly, some trainers just don't know how to properly address reactivity. Let's see what else we got here. First time, this is from Savage or Average. First time catching a live. I've watched a lot of your videos. It's been very helpful. Just got my first working German Shepherd. I'm interested in training for IGP. So looking for a place locally. Good stuff. Have I heard, this is from Shannon, have I heard of Dinos vom Eisernen? You mean Dinoso vom Eisernen Cruise? If so, why do you think might purchase a dog? Listen, I don't care who, like, a lot of people are like, oh, my dog's grandfather is so-and-so. All right. Who are the other, 20 dogs from the pedigree? The dog's grandfather doesn't matter. If we're talking about Dinoso vom Eisernen Cruz, he was a very famous dog. He produced very well. But as with any stud that was bred widely and has thousands of puppies, there were some good dogs and there were some bad dogs. Him being the grandfather or even the direct father of a dog, doesn't mean all that much, especially when we don't know who the female is and the pedigree of the female, so on and so forth. So, trying to buy a dog based off of a grandparent is never an intelligent thing to do. Let's see. What else we got? My KMPV line Belgian Malinois is a better herding dog than my working line Australian Shepherd. It can happen. Caesar Arujo says, I meant in the sense of getting the play so aroused, so intense that it mimics the instinct to fight and get obedient without extinction of the reactivity. Yeah, I don't do that. So where I'll make play, so this is actually a very good point. I'm wondering if you're in another program that you brought this up. So here's the thing. Once I teach the dog that they can't be reactive, I'll intentionally bring their arousal up, right? So let's say I've got another dog that's in the same room. The dog will try to be reactive. I'll teach the dog very quickly, hey, That behavior is no bueno. You cannot do it. But once we do that, we have to increase the level of arousal. So the way that I'll increase the level of arousal in the beginning is first I'll make the target dog aroused, right? So I'll throw a ball for that dog. I'll play tug with that dog. So now that dog is running, that dog is barking, that dog is growling, and that naturally will increase the arousal level of the reactive dog that I'm working with, which will then elicit another reaction, right? I'll, again, teach that dog, hey, I don't care if this dog is barking, running, biting, growling, bumping into you. You can't be reactive, right? Then what I'll do is I'll play with the reactive dog to increase the arousal again in a different way, right? And then again, I'll see if the reactivity crops up again, right? 9 times out of 10, the reactivity is more related to what the target dog is doing than what the reactive dog is doing. But yes, I do that. That's part of the proofing process. What are your thoughts on interrupters before punishing a dog for reactivity? Like the punishment doesn't register with the dog while they're reacting, so you mark no, interrupt, then punish. Well, I mark no to identify to the dog why the punishment is happening. I typically don't wait for the reactivity to occur. Reactivity has a cycle that it follows, and it's very predictable, right? With most dogs, it starts with a stare, right? And it's being able to read body language and be like, yeah, this dog is targeting the other dog. He's showing a lot of arousal towards that other dog. I'm going to punish that arousal before it gets to full-blown reactivity. And by the way, if I punish a dog while they're actually being reactive, the way I punish them, they know why it happened, right? And I teach them not to practice any part of the reactivity cycle very quickly with the dog. I know someone with a young golden doodle puppy who bites their clothes and demands attention. They tried to smack the dog for doing it. She growled and bit back. What should they do? Well, turns out they negatively reinforce the dog being aggressive, right? So for me, if I do something to a dog and it tries to match what I did or increase, which can happen, right? I match or increase. I don't ever match. I'm lying. I increase. I go so far beyond what that dog can do that they're like, okay. I'm done. The worst thing you can do is turn off the pressure when they turn on the pressure, because now you're teaching them to redirect, to bite you, to growl at you when they don't like something that you're doing, right? Do I plan to do a podcast with Cesar Millan? I don't know. I mean, he's in LA. He's a big-time guy. I'm just a little old me. Maybe it'll happen, but, I mean, it would be cool. But will it happen? Unlikely. I'll just be happy to take a picture with Cesar Millan. That would be awesome. Have I ever been bit by a dog without a bite suit? Yeah, a number of times. I've been to the hospital. Don't worry. I'll tell you guys, it's been a while since I told the story of when I got really badly bit. So I'll tell that one again. How about that? If you guys get the likes up, I'll tell that story again. I wasted my money on a positive-only trainer. Should have followed my instincts and my friend's advice. Started with the methods from Shield Canine. It was such a disservice to my dog. I'm a fan. Well, I'm happy to hear that you're having success. Get the likes up, guys. If the likes come up, I'll tell the story again of how I got severely bitten. Let's see what else we got here. Caesar says, that's what I'm missing. I got the dog not to react on the walk, but if the other is barking or chasing, the reactivity shows up again. Yeah, the reactivity shows up again because there's contingency. You maybe increase the threshold, right? But the second the dog amps up their level of reactivity, your dog kicks off again. So, yes, no, you have to generalize all of this in the training session. I do this all in my first training session. I just get rid of all of it, you know? I don't drink beer. This is sparkling coconut water. Does CKC, beer is haram, by the way. Does CKC registration matter with a working dog? No, it does not. 4.5-month-old puppy stopped playing tug of war. Is that normal because of teething? Yeah, most likely. It probably got physically uncomfortable, so he stopped. Hello, Haz. What do you think about the different marker system? Yes, get it, go, and so on. I see Oscar and Justin Rigney talk highly of them. No, I don't use it. I mean, listen, whatever works, works, man. Whatever works, works. Get the likes up, guys. I'll tell that bite story soon. Do I have body language reading videos in your courses on YouTube? No, because it wouldn't help you. It wouldn't help you. It's like, it's a useless navel gazing, right? Dog training should be simple. It should be easy. There's no, it's not something that would help you to see it. You know, I could like do like a freaking big long course. Oh, look at this and look at that. You will only become proficient enough to recognize body language and actually act on it in a dog with lots and lots of experience on the other end of the leash. There's no video course that'll prepare you for that. So it's better that you just understand how to learn, how dogs think, how dogs communicate, and how to train a dog to do various things, and how to train a dog not to do various things. Then we waste a lot of time talking about, you know, subtle nuances in body language. And just like with human beings, right? So, for instance, you know, I'm a little bit, let's say, on the spectrum. So my body language isn't always, what's the word? Isn't always congruent with what I'm actually thinking and feeling, right? So that's something to be aware of. And it's the same with dogs. And they all have kind of like a little bit of a different, different outlook, right? So like there's certain general similarities. And I think the average person that spends any time around dogs knows kind of like, oh, he's happy. Oh, he's excited. Oh, he's scared. Oh, he's mad, right? But when we get beyond that, it's for me, it's pointless. It's navel gazing. It's useless. It's not really helping. I'd rather just say, hey, your dog's reactive. Here's how you fix it. Your dog doesn't come when he's called. Here's how you fix that, right? Your dog doesn't want to play. Here's how you teach him how to play. That's I think, much more productive. All right, let's see what else we got. Am I a Muslim? Yes, I am. Let's see here. Do I hear about Odin von Dustergrund? What are your thoughts of him? I don't know him. Don't know him. Are Swamp and her puppies doing well? Yes, they are. All right, guys. I promised you a story on why I got bit. Once the likes get up to a 90, I'll tell that story. My male dog is 7 months old. Becoming aggressive. There's no bark. It's all bite. I've tried correcting him, and I've given him hard corrections. And I've also used E. Stops him in the moment, but not fixed. Yeah, that's because e-collar is not good for that. I don't know what your dog is biting, because that wasn't very clear. 7 months old is very young. To me, it sounds like you just don't really have a very clear training system, especially if a 7-month-old puppy is behaving like that. You need to create you need to follow a very clear training system that focuses on all the fundamental behaviors that a dog needs to know, instead of just not allowing the dog to engage in certain behavior. It seems like you're kind of more focused on just correcting what you don't like. And while it's important to do that, and do that in a way that's clear for the dog, just simply focusing on that, it's not going to get you anywhere, especially if you have such a young dog that's engaging in those types of behaviors. All right, I promised you guys something. I see the likes are at 95, so I'm going to get started. So let's talk about when Has got really badly bit. It's been a minute. I still have the scar on my arm. So it was, man, when was it? Might have been 2015. It's been a minute, right? It's been a minute. 2015. It was my first year of having a facility. It was a facility that I had in Cambridge. And I was running a group class. And this was the beginning of a level 2 group class. So I had done a level 1 group class. And the dog that bit me had been in the level 1 group class. I'd actually handled the dog, because back in those days, I used to really take the leash from the clients, and I would handle the dog and fix the problems right away and then give the leash back, so on and so forth. I've actually really reduced how often I do that now. And this dog was an alfalfa blue blood bulldog. So those of you that don't know what that is, kind of looks like a large athletic bully, right? They're pretty much like that. But these are game dogs. They're bred to like go after pigs, so on and so forth. They also tend to be quite dog aggressive. And this dog was certainly very, very dog aggressive. He was dog aggressive and human aggressive. Human aggressive in such a way that like he had done bite work with another trainer and they hadn't done any kind of control work. All they'd done is bite work. And that gameness that he had, right? That desire to kill other dogs and probably to kill any animal that he could get his little paws on. They weren't so little. He was a good sized dog. He with the bite work, he translated that over to humans and he would go off on humans. And it wasn't like fear. It was like frustration. Like, I would love to grab you and just eat you. Anyways, long story short, I'd done the level 1 with him. And, he'd gone off a few times, but we'd effectively, in my mind, at the time, what I thought, we had put an end to that behavior, I thought. And, we'd gone through the level 1 class. I'd handled him multiple times. Things were good. Anyways, long story short, they bring him into the group class, the level 2 group class. And, I already had a bunch of clients sitting in the training room. So they bring this alfalfa blue blood bulldog in, and he comes in, and he was just losing it. And I was like, guys, come on, correct the dog. And, they were trying, and they couldn't. He was on a prong collar at the time. A long time ago. I trained in a very different way. I would never have done the things that I did in those days, what I'm doing now, right? But, hey, you live, you learn, right? Anyways, finally, I'm frustrated. I'm like, here, just give him to me. So, took the dog, gave him a leash correction, told him to plots, right? And he did. Right away, it was like, okay, and he plotzed. I turned away to talk to somebody. As I turned back around, I just saw the periphery of my vision, this large male lunging and coming for my right arm. Yeah, it was my right arm, right? It was my leash hand, the right arm, right? Which is your dominant. He hammers it and grabs me, right? Now, so I was surprised because he had just listened, he'd plotzed, and again, I told you, I handled this dog, and he had stopped coming after me. But anyways, he was obviously in such a high state of arousal and frustration because of the other dogs, and we had done the mistake that a lot of people make, where we hadn't really inhibited the aggressive behavior towards the other dogs. We'd controlled it, reduced it, and redirected it into obedience, but we hadn't actually addressed the cause, the root, and really created any kind of real inhibition towards that behavior. At the time, I was not equipped as a trainer to really accomplish that with him, right? I was still doing a lot better than any of the other trainers they'd worked with because they couldn't even get as far as I'd gotten with him, but it still wasn't enough, right? Me knowing what I know now, looking back, I didn't really create real inhibition around that aggressive behavior, whether it was towards humans or towards other dogs. I just redirected it into obedience and alternative forms of control. Anyways, long story short, dog grabs me. I was wearing one of those Carhartt jackets, but no liner, right? Dog grabs me, and because he already had some bite work, he knew what to do. He was countering in. For those of you that don't know, countering in means the dog keeps pushing into the grip. And it was a good pushing grip too, by the way. At the time, all I felt was pressure, right? I felt pressure and I felt like an annoyance because I'm like, man, he's ruining this brand new jacket that I got. And I was annoyed. Anyways, I was just like, all right, it's funny. There was a whole class there, 5, 6 people with their dogs. And these people panicking because their dog's latched onto my right arm, countering in. And I grabbed the leash in my other hand and I just gave it to him. I'm like, all right, choke him off. So they choked him off. And I remember saying, man, you better not have ruined my jacket. Pulls him off of me. I take him out. They take him out. And I'm looking at my jacket. I'm like, man, he wrecked it. I could see it was all torn up. So anyways, I could see a little blood on it, but I was like, didn't look too bad, and I didn't feel anything because, word to the wise, generally speaking, when you get bit, your adrenaline spikes, so you don't actually feel anything. Ask me how I know that. Anyways, went into the bathroom. The whole class obviously is just I'm like, hey guys, just wait. I'm going to go and clean this up. I'll be right back out. Don't worry, we'll get started. So I go into the bathroom, pull my jacket off, look, and I'm like, oh my God. I could see things that I'd never seen inside my arm before because he'd pretty much bitten me right to the bone. I had an entire giant gash. I don't know if you guys can see. I still have the scar to this day. You guys probably wouldn't see it here, but I had a giant gash right here where his molars and his premolars had gone into me. And then I had 2 holes from his canines on both sides of my arm. But like I could see my fat, blood, everything. So I'm like, oh my God, like this isn't as easy as I thought, right? This is going to be a bit of a problem. So then what I said was, all right, I just so happened to be across the road from a Shoppers Drug Mart. Those of you in the US, I don't know if you have a Shoppers Drug Mart, but I was like across the road from a Shoppers Drug Mart. It's like a, I don't know, what CVS? That's what you guys have in the US, right? But I was across the road. So I said, I came out, I went in there. First in the bathroom, I'm like, you know what? I should probably clean this. I put some water on it, ran the tap over it, and I had some rubbing alcohol. Don't do this, by the way. I poured the rubbing alcohol on it because I figured, okay, that'll clean it, right? Poured the rubbing alcohol on it, ran it under the tap, then poured the rubbing alcohol on it, and then just covered it back up with my jacket. Went outside. Everyone was like, "Oh my God, are you okay? We can leave. It's okay." I said, "No. Don't worry. I'm just gonna run across the road, grab a bandage, and I'll be right back." So I run into the Shoppers Drug Mart with freaking like a tattered jacket, blood stained, whatever. Go in there, go to the first aid section, grab like one of those big wrap bandages, so on and so forth. Get the stuff, come back, poured some more rubbing alcohol, which you shouldn't do, by the way, on it, wrapped it up, and then I went and I taught the first level 2 group class. The owners of the dog were a little bit taken aback, the dog that bit me. And I was like, "Hey, it's okay, put a muzzle on him, bring him back in, we'll do it." They didn't really want to do that, which, I understand. They were very shaken up by the whole thing. Anyways, I went ahead and taught the class. Then I went to the hospital and I got my stitches. I live in Canada, so it was a nice 8-hour wait. Had to get x-rays, so on and so forth. Had to go on antibiotics. Didn't tell. They were like, what dog was it? What dog bit you? I'm like, I don't know, it was somebody's dog. I don't even know who they are, right? Because I'm a good dog trainer. I don't rat my clients out. And then, that was my worst bite that I ever had. I've had since then punctures from dogs, but I've never had one quite as bad as that. But hey, man, when you're starting out, you learn the hard way. And that dog did teach me a lot. He did end up coming back. We did end up doing some more training with him, but I was always a little bit more careful after that. By the way, rubbing alcohol, yes, it burns, but it also kills the good bacteria, which is why you're not supposed to do it. The doctor told me soap and water and just a few stitches. Just a few, not a lot, just a few, right? Because that'll allow the wound to clean itself, right? So, you don't want to close it up. More likely that the infection will take hold. And of course, you should always take antibiotics preemptively. I got bit on the leg from an untrained male pit bull years ago at a construction customer's home. Wound is still healing, 15 stitches to start, and it broke open after removal. It sucks. Yeah, absolutely. And you can lose a limb from dog bites, right? They can do enough damage that you could lose a limb, or it could cause a very severe infection. So don't take it for granted. Like even a little chihuahua bites you, it could cause a really major infection if the mouth is dirty. It could kill you. So don't sleep on dog bites. Okay, let's see here. No, I'm not going to post a list of requirements from the Pro Trainer course because you actually have to take the course in order to get the lowdown on the test. So if you take the course, you'll know all the things that you have to do to pass the test. Distinct Canine says, I have Haz's courses and do vouch for the way he explains it. Very clear, yet lots of knowledge. Thank you. Penny is the cutest Pomeranian ever. Oh, they're referring to my video on Penny the Pomeranian. Essentially, overcorrecting the bite has caused him to skip all the warnings. Let him bite on a tug and you will get those warnings back. What are you talking about? No, that's not what's happening. Oh, this is Holy Blaze. I remember you. Bro, don't talk anymore. You're giving bad information. If you talk anymore, I'm going to block you. How about that? You sit there and you be quiet. You be quiet. You don't have the background and knowledge or experience to be giving people advice on the internet about training dogs. Patrick says, so never, and I'm very serious by the way, if you comment again in any capacity, I will block you and ban you, and you will not have access to my content anymore. Patrick Boswell, so never hit the dog on the e-collar for reactivity. I understand dealing with it on the leash initially, but what if it pops up again once off leash? I didn't say never. I just said I don't like doing it. And that's not how I actually will fix it. Now, if you want to reinforce it, let's say maybe the dog has a little regression, starts huffing and puffing at somebody, and you want to reinforce a verbal marker that you've actually already made powerful to a dog, like a no, with a tap on the e-collar, you can do it. Is it the best way to stop a reactive dog, or is it what I would recommend? Generally, no. No, it's not. But again, there's nuances to everything. My jacket was ruined, for those of you who asked. Oh, don't worry, I'll do it. Here. Bye. Let's see here. You no longer exist. Just like that, Holly, or Holy, or whatever you call yourself. You no longer exist, right? A lot of these people, right, what they do is they come on streams, they come on content created by people that are actually doing something productive, and they seek relevance, you know, like a child that's misbehaving. You know, the child wants attention so badly, and he doesn't know how to get attention, so he's willing to settle for any kind of attention. And so he misbehaves in order to get attention, because good or bad attention, at least he's getting attention. And these people are the same, right? Just me, me, me. It's all about me. How about you give something to the world and people will pay attention to you? And if you're not able to give something to the world, why don't you put yourself in the position where you can give something to the world, where you can give value to people that they want to pay attention to you, you know? So, yeah, no. These types of people, the worst thing that you can do to them, actually, is either A, ignore them, or B, ban them so they can no longer interact. And by the way, I do this with a lot of people. You know, I'll warn them and then I'll say, hey, I'm going to cut you off. And it's funny. Actually, with a lot of them, they will stop if you say, listen, I'll cut you off. Because they still want to watch your content. They still want access to the value that you drop. And I value what I put out, right? Yeah, some of the things I put out is tongue-in-cheek, it's entertaining, whatever. But I also believe that I put out a lot of value. I wouldn't do it if I didn't think I put out value. If I didn't put out, you know, lessons for people to learn, you know, things that are actually going to help them with their dog in daily life. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't think I was actually helping people, right? And by simply saying, hey, you got to stop or I'm going to cut you off completely, it actually will stop a lot of them, because all they wanted was attention and relevance. But then they still want access to your content. They want access to the value that you're dropping, and I value my content. So I'm willing to say, hey, you're no longer going to have access to this, the free stuff, you know, especially if you don't behave yourself properly. And you'd be amazed at how many people actually stop and behave themselves. Unfortunately, not everybody's able to do that. And now he doesn't exist anymore, whoever that was. Don't even remember his name. Anyways, moving on. Zen Colon says, wait, sorry. This is work email. That's a funny username. My 7-month-old Belgian Malinois knows lots of commands and is well behaved, but lately I have to repeat myself 2 to 4 times before he listens. He used to obey right away. I correct him when he doesn't. Why and what yes, because you have not adequately reinforced the training. You're just correcting non-compliance. And correcting non-compliance, when you do it over and over again, can actually become a vicious cycle. For instance, the dog doesn't sit, so you correct him every time he doesn't sit. You'll say sit and you correct him, sit and you correct him, sit and you correct him. Now what does sit mean? You've basically classically conditioned an association between sit and a correction. So you'll say sit, and instead of sitting, he's going to be like, and he'll stop. You need to go back to reinforcing the correct behavior, right? Both positively and negatively. And then, again, weaning the dog off of those aids and seeing what he does. Zen Collins says, I opened my dog training business earlier this year. Do you recommend charging competitive rates or much lower to get your name out? I don't know, man. Like, I don't know your situation. At the end of the day, it's like, what value are you bringing? If you're bringing a lot of value and there's people lining up for what you've got, then great. If maybe people don't understand the value that you're bringing, or you're not sure if you're bringing value, then maybe my priority would be, getting people through the door and helping as many people as I could before asking for a lot in return. Battle Buddy Canine says, I always tell them it was a stray when I was walking my dog. There you go. There you go. I'm not one of those trainers that's going to sue you because your dog bit me. It's part of the job, Let's see what else we got. Daniel Harden. Which of your training programs would be best for mainly rescue type dog training? I'm working on opening a rescue and have already dealt with lots of different personalities. Yes, you will. My rescue dog course, actually. I actually have a course tailored to rescue dogs, a package of courses, actually. Jindo Man says, chlorhexidine glucinate is good to clean wounds. Vetricin also works on humans in a pinch. There you go. There you have it. Hey, Haz, could you do a bio? Would be nice to know your history. You could read my website. I don't think I want to do my bio right now. I come from a land far, far away. No, I'm kidding. I come from Canada. Tell us about your first dog. My first dog that I owned was a German Shepherd that I rescued from the Toronto Humane Society. And she was 9 years old when I took her in, and she was a fantastic dog to own. I made every mistake you could make with a dog, and she did not punish me for the vast majority of them. And she was truly a pleasure to live with and to own, and I miss her to this day. She was a beautiful dog. Her name was Kayla. Richard Wooten says, hello, Haz. Just wanted to ask how you touch up skills that atrophy without practice. How long can a level 2 protection dog you trained go in between bite work scenario sessions? It depends on the dog. So some dogs have thin thresholds. Like they're kind of always looking for, like we're speaking now specifically about bite work, okay? They're always looking for trouble, so to speak. They're already kind of paranoid, or maybe they really, really like bite work. So they're always kind of looking for it, And those types of dogs, they don't need nearly as much as the dog that maybe has a bit of a thicker threshold, kind of starts to chill out a little bit more in the family home. Maybe he hasn't done bite work in a long, long time. Everybody he meets loves him and is friends with him. That dog probably needs a little bit more. Maybe he's a little more socially inclined. That dog needs it a lot more, and he needs it in multiple contexts. So it really depends on the individual dog that you have. With obedience, it's all about just being consistent with the dog. Literally, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I get dogs in here all the time, right? That like for 6 months, the training wasn't reinforced, and literally within 10 minutes, the training all comes back when you just reinforce it and be like, hey, man, you actually got to do all of this stuff. Caitlin K9 says, tips for someone getting a mal and wanting to do bite sports with it. Get a good one. Go to a good breeder that has a history of producing the kind of dogs that you want to compete with. Richard says, specifically asking about Sting, who thoroughly enjoying his new life. So with Sting in Colorado, oh, that's fantastic. I'm happy to hear that you guys are having a good time. So with Sting, he's very contextual, right? So like, he's actually really good out in public. He's a lot, but he's really good out in public. If somebody gets aggressive, for sure he'll react to that. But if you want to be able to kind of like light him up on passive people, stuff like this, like more advanced stuff, then I would do non-contextual bite work, which means if you take him to someone's training facility, you put a harness on him, that person has equipment on, he'll be lighting up right away. What I mean is, you got to go to places where he's not expecting it and light him up on someone that knows what they're doing, that's going to be able to help him and elicit those reactions and generalize it. But then be careful. If you overdo it with a dog like Sting, then he might be starting to look at everybody like he's going to bite them. And if they do anything, it could set him off and get him to the point where he'll go and bite them. So everything has to have a balance. But I would say, if you're concerned about the dog performing in a very specific spot, like let's say your house, get some bite work done at your house just so he knows it's a possibility, and refresh that every once in a while. If there's a place, for instance, that you would never want him to bite somebody, like, I don't know, the coffee store, then never do any bite work at the coffee shop, right? He's very contextual, that dog. Hempcrete Bear says, you're the best trainer I've seen has. Ban those gamas. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you. Are the approaches to training a dog in scent work versus tracking very different? I mean, tracking is a very specific kind of scent work, if you think about it. So yeah, I would say that they are quite different. You know, tracking is more detailed, significantly more detailed, and it's the dog basically not just indicating on a specific odor, but following odor and following it for a long period of time, and then following certain rules while they're following that odor. So it is different. Of course, I value what you say. You simply refuse to push back on pushback. You just shut it down. Let's talk. I don't know who you are, bro. But if you're the same dude, I'm banning you. So my advice to you is don't be that same dude. Whoever you are, maybe change your identity. Be a different person. I have no problem with healthy and reasonable conversation from people that clearly know what they're talking about. But as I said to somebody, there was a guy, he contacted me actually on social media, right? This individual had commented on one of my social media posts that involved working dogs. Like I posted a working dog doing something, and he had commented and said a whole bunch of nonsense that, you know, anybody who knows me, knows the dog, knows it's a bunch of bullshit. But he said it with complete confidence. And then he actually contacted me and said, hey, would you like to come on a podcast and answer to me basically. I'm going to like cross-examine you on X, Y, and Z. So number one, his podcast, like his channel, he had like, I don't know, like 1,000 followers. Like there was like nobody on his channel, right? Like he had no social media following. And then number two, a quick look at him, he had no experience. So he had no meaningful experience. He had no social media following. You have to have at least one of those. If you have a lot of obvious experience and skill at something, well, number one, you wouldn't have made the comment that he made. But number two, okay, we can talk because at least, you know, we might not agree on something, but I respect what you've done and you respect what I've done, and we might not agree on this thing, and we can talk intelligently about it. But you haven't accomplished that. And then on the other side of it, you don't even have a social media following, so there's literally nothing in it for me. So I said, no, I'm not going to come on your podcast because there's really nothing in it for me. All I'm going to be doing is actually doing you a favor. And even worse, I'm going to be rewarding your bad behavior, right? And hold on a second. Boom, banned. All right. I'm just going to be rewarding your bad behavior, which I refuse to do. I'm not doing that, right? So for me, it's really, really simple. I will discuss with people that are worth discussing, right? Like those of you come on here, you guys have asked me questions. I have no problem answering your questions. I have no problem sharing what I know with you, and I hope you find it useful. It doesn't mean that I'm not open to, having a discussion with another trainer, but I need to know that you have a background that we're on a similar level of understanding and nuance. And if you're not, I'm not going to do it. You're just some random dude on the internet that never accomplished anything, right? So it's really, really important that people understand. It's like, I said it to him because this dude, like, I don't know, I guess he like did some amateur MMA or something. So what I said to him was, I said, what you just did would be the same as me going to someone who performed, who's in the top 10 of whatever weight division, right? Whatever weight division. And in the MMA, I don't know, the lightweight, the welterweight, whatever else. And saying to that person, hey, I don't agree with what you did. I've done 2 years of rec MMA. I don't agree with what you've done. Yeah, you're in the top 10 of whatever weight division you're in the UFC, but I don't agree with this thing that you've done. Dude's going to be like, who's you? Who are you? Like, why would I even discuss it with you? You're just somebody that doesn't know anything. You don't have a background in performance or experience or ability to have that discussion. So not everybody is equipped for every discussion. And that's something that people just simply don't understand, right? Like, not everybody is equipped for every discussion. So I'll discuss things and I'll answer things with my peers, with people that have that similar level of knowledge to me in that specific topic, right? But I'm not going to go and do a favor for some random person that has no following on social media, no relevant experience. You're just somebody who's arrogant. You're entitled, right? You're arrogant and entitled because you haven't accomplished anything in terms of experience or tangible accomplishments, and yet you're questioning somebody that has. Think about the level of arrogance and entitlement that takes. We don't reward that behavior. It's not healthy. It's not productive. All right, let's see what else we got here. Dogs that you personally train for bite work, have you seen them turn on in real life situations? Yes, I have. I have some video, but I can't share it. I have some video, but I can't share it. My dog is very highly biddable, and our relationship is already strong, so things are pretty easy. Very curious what it's like for you to work with very stubborn and independent dogs. That's a good question. Again, it's all about finding something that motivates the dog. What motivates you? If that thing motivates you, then we'll definitely do that thing, right? The other side of it is, what's the why? Like, what's the why for the dog, right? Why is he doing something? Is he doing it because he has to, or is he doing it because he wants something? I prefer to have both of those things present. He's doing it because he knows that he has to, and he's doing it because he wants something out of it. When both those things are present, you have the strongest obedience. So typically with those dogs, I simply will follow my training system. There's nothing I really change, right? If the dog doesn't want to work for positive reinforcement, right? If the dog doesn't care about pleasing me, that's fine, right? We'll work in the negative reinforcement quadrant for a while. And usually once you've worked in the negative reinforcement quadrant, you'll then move to the positive. The dog will actually become more willing to accept positive reinforcement. It's kind of like saying, I was like, listen, man, I need you to do X, Y, and Z. And if you do X, Y, and Z, I'll give you $10. And then you're like, no, I don't want to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, well, you're going to do it anyways. You've got to do it. We got no choice. You're doing X, Y, and Z. Very important that you do it, right? And I'm not giving you an option. You will do it. And I have a way to make you do it. And then I say, after I've made you do it a few times, I'm like, but would you like that $10? You're going to say, yes, sir, I would actually very much enjoy that $10. I would love to have it, right? Now, I know a lot of people go, oh, that's mean. Okay, but again, we're talking about training a dog. Come when you're called. Lie down. Don't attack other dogs. These are things that are fundamental to the betterment of their lives. These are things that are fundamental to their safety. So yeah, I don't make that optional. And I don't make that contingent on if the dog feels like it, right? It's like, no, these are not optional things. You come when I call you. You don't drag me on the leash. You're not reactive to other dogs. If I ask you to stay somewhere, you will stay there. But if you're a good boy, I'll also give you nice things. And it's up to you whether you take those nice things or not. You'd be very amazed at how much and how quickly the dog suddenly becomes willing to work for the nice things when you say, hey, but doing that stuff's not optional. Jess Val says, current decoy trainer is saying we should focus on grips later as she develops. Any thoughts on this? She's social but easily aroused and has great pursuit. Her grips are naturally good. Yeah, if the grips are naturally good, you don't have to work on them. I would focus on other things like, you know, for dogs that have genetically good grips, and she has one of the puppies from the swamp litter, my first swamp litter. Yeah, if the grips are genetically good, yeah, why worry about them? Why work on them, so to speak? I'll work on other aspects of the dog's performance. I don't need to hear your credentials. They don't matter because I don't know you. You're hiding behind fake usernames. You don't have any credentials. You're just a random on the internet that's desperate to be relevant. Let's see what else we have. Again, you don't exist. It's so sad. Do you think singleton puppies have unique problems? The litter I put a deposit down on is a singleton. That's from Soulstar. No, I don't. I haven't seen it to be a problem at all. If anything, the dog's just going to be very well nutrited. Do you have to use a decoy to train for protection work? Okay, I'm glad you asked me this. So I'm literally working right now on a DIY protection course. Okay? And there have been so many people ask, like, can I train protection without a decoy? I don't have access to a decoy. I want to train a dog to be I want to train a protection dog, right? Okay, like, fair enough. you guys have asked me enough times, right? So for me, I'm like, all right, I have to make this course. So you will need two people, one to hold the dog and one to work the dog. But the second person will not have to be a decoy, right? The second person can just be whoever you pick, someone random, right? So in terms of like your neighbor, it could be your friend, it could be, a couple of different people. I have come up with this course, and I'm literally shooting this course as we speak with people that don't know how to be decoys, right? So I'm pulling like guys that work in my kennel. I'm like, all right, you guys are going to help me do this. You guys are going to be the agitator. Just do everything I tell you to do. And what I'm telling you to do, you're going to also be able to, you guys, after you watch the course, are going to be able to do it yourself with whoever you can get to help you, right? And it can be multiple people. It doesn't matter. And you can follow it on your own. So, and it's designed around no equipment, like next to no equipment. Like you need a leash and a collar, right? There's not a lot of biting involved. There's a lot of aggression, but there's not a lot of biting. And most protection work, actually, when you really think about it, is deterrent, right? Like a dog that lights up, a dog that shows aggression. And if the dog bites, it doesn't have to be the most pretty thing, right? So being realistic, right? Is this going to be the same as, like if a professional decoy that really knows what they're doing trained your dog? Of course not. But the whole idea is it's DIY. You can do it without a professional decoy. So I'm working on it right now. I just got to shoot a couple more videos and it will be done. DIY protection. And it's really good. I'm going to add it, I think, to my original protection course. And I think I'm going to just sell both of them as a package. And this is a good question. Do you think husband and wife should be each other's decoy to train, or should the worker be someone that does not live in the house? No, you can use a husband or a wife with the caveat that the dog does not recognize them, right? And there's simple ways to make sure that the dog does not recognize them. Will I do another herding? Will I do another herding mix? No, I don't. I mean, I don't know. I might. Soul Star. Is this Melissa? If it's Melissa, what happened to your dog? I really liked your dog. That male that you had. He was a fantastic dog. I think he had a lot of potential when I worked him for IGP. Really liked him. Oh, speaking of Balabanov, not to lump myself with the hater, thoughts on low stim conditioning. I already did a whole video on my perception of what he said in relation to low stim conditioning. And again, that's an example of, listen, all respect to Ivan Balabanov and what he's accomplished in the dog training world and what he's done. I'll always respect what he's accomplished. Doesn't mean I have to agree with everything he says, but I will always respect it. And I always say that I respect it before I voice my disagreement with him, because that's being real. But I mean, again, I did a whole video on it. I think that maybe we train different kinds of dogs, and we prefer different kinds of dogs, and that's totally fine. American Canine says, ever notice very good dogs push you with their nose when you first get them out, yet don't seem to be smelling you, or not displaying dominance, but are just playful? Seen it in one line for 3 generations. I mean, all my dogs push on me when I get them out, so I guess so, yes. Let's see here. What else do we got? Do you think you will ever dive into either bite sport disciplines? I would like to dive into PSA. I actually, as much as I enjoy tracking, it is attractive to be involved in a sport in which I don't have to go and find tracking, because tracking probably takes the most time in IGP and requires the most repetition. All that being said, my problem with PSA is I don't believe that I would get a fair shake in that sport. I don't believe anybody really gets a fair shake in that sport, quite frankly, because from what I've seen, their judging is very, very inconsistent. And I don't want to enter a sport in which the judging is super inconsistent, and which, let's say the judge might have vested interest in you passing or failing. You know what I mean? I don't like that. In IGP, for sure, there's biased judging, but it's not like there's a certain level. Like they can only get away with so much because the rules are so set in stone. But with PSA, I feel like that they're just too inconsistent, and there's too much shenanigans going on. Like I've seen dogs. You know, I have 2 clients, and one of them went and did a PSA 1 recently, and then the other one, he did PSA 1, couple PSA 1s last year. And the one guy outscored the other guy PSA 1, but the guy that he outscored has way better obedience. Like, way better, way stronger, way more active, dominant, strong, correct obedience. And then the other client, you know, his dog's a little bit less, a little bit flatter, a little more recent to the training, outscored him in the obedience. Now, I'm very happy that, of course, he got a good score because he's my client and I support him no matter what. But it made me look at it and be like, yeah, you know, and it just confirmed what I've already seen numerous times. Like, their judging is just not good. It's not consistent at all. And it just, for putting all that time and effort, then you're going to go travel to a trial, then you're going to deal with inconsistent judging on top of that. I don't know. I just don't like that. Heidi Wu says, can I get a discount on your puppy course if I already purchased 2 other courses in the past? It's been a few years. Yes, you can. Email us at info@shieldcanine.ca. And we'll help you out. No, I don't like ring sport. Ring sport's not attractive to me. Neither is Mondio. Neither of them. Like, it's just not, there's just not enough for me brought by the decoy. I don't, I appreciate the athleticism of the decoys in ring sport, but for me, it's just not what I want. Having dogs and aggressive geese together? No, I do not have aggressive geese. I have dogs that are aggressive. I've had dogs that are aggressive to waterfowl, and, you know, of course, you correct that behavior. What is the most challenging but also most rewarding part of dog training for you currently? Dog sport. Dog sport, right? It's extremely complex. You know, you put a lot of time and effort in, you put a lot of money in, you show up, and maybe you have a good day and maybe you don't. If you have a good day, everybody loves you. If you have a bad day, everybody talks shit about how you don't know what you're doing. So I love all that is on the line in dog sport. I love the complexity of dog sport, and you know, it's very rewarding, but also extremely frustrating and you know, exciting thing to be involved in. Let's see here. Ryan Schroeder. Hey, Haz, my Arlador female is doing great, but working on a quick down from a recall. How do I make her do the Chico slide down from a recall or speed up the down? So there's 2 things. When you see Chico performing the way he performs, don't worry, I'll include the DIY protection in the sport dog bundle. How about that? So if you already have it, I think I'm going to include it. Don't marry me to it, but I think I'm going to include it. Let's see what else we got here. What else? Yeah, sorry, Ryan. So speeding up the down. So Chico is fast because he's an extreme drive dog. And when you have an extreme drive dog and, you know, you really put strong training and impulse control on that dog, everything they do is going to be very fast, very twitchy. So keep that in mind. The other reason that the dog, you know, might be slow is it could be, again, what are you doing to reinforce the down negatively and positively? Both of those elements have to be present generally to get that slide in, right? So for instance, Chico knows on the plots, there's going to be pressure on the plots from the e-collar, and then there's going to be positive reinforcement from a ball for hitting that plots. So both of those things simultaneously motivate him to give 110% in the plots. All that being said, he's generally 110% in everything he does anyways. So I hope that helps you. Brim Reaper says, hopefully I'll have my Pro Trainer video sent over next week, trying to get out on a cooler day. Well, good luck with that. And I'm wishing you much success in your Pro Trainer course. All right, guys. I think I'm going to be wrapping this one up. Fantastic chatting with all of you. And I hope you guys have a good one. Like, subscribe, comment below, shieldcanineonline.com. You guys all have a fantastic rest of your week.